fam, what is going on? Get your libations, because we're going to get in it and go through it. Don't forget, tomorrow, it is upon us, the 21st, we are going to discuss the tobacco growing book, American Slavery, American Freedom, tomorrow. I was going to talk about another book that I come across, and I was going to do a different show if we're talking about what was going to happen. I was going to do a different show, but something happened. Sometimes everything changes, so being late tonight ain't going to even really matter, because I'm going to try to get through it as quick as I can, because I hadn't planned for the show. But sometimes things happen that you haven't planned for, and you have to adjust. What do I always say? Be nimble. So you can go to donatebrown.com, patreon.com, /YCarnell and donate. Please like if you are in the chat right now. Please hit that like button. It costs you no money. It costs you only a little bit of time. So please hit that like button. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe for me. If you have not, hit that bell for me, so that you can get a notification of when I come online. We would appreciate it. I would appreciate it if you would hit that bell. That would be very, very nice. That would be very, very inspiring. So that you know when we're in. You're like, I missed the live show. I don't know where I was. I was somewhere. But it's usually around 9:30-ish. Anywhere from 9:30 to 9:50. Late today. But listen, fam, we have something we got to talk about. And when stuff happens like this, you have to, I think you have to stop everything you're doing and kind of address these kinds of smears. I don't think we have a choice. So I want to take everybody back. Those of you who weren't paying attention, or were busy, stuff happens in our lives and we get very busy. And so I want to just take a minute to go all the way back and give everybody a sense. Well, not even just a sense. Give everybody an idea of what led up to this what I call the second phase of this smear. Let's give everybody an idea. So, a while ago, Talib Kweli, Talib Green is his real name, washed up rapper fellow. So he said something about reparations, and he said, well, I'd rather see something. I'd rather see some universal politics than just screaming into the void about reparations. And I tried to gently chin check him and say that you're wrong here. Like, stop talking about stuff. Basically, knowing that he comes from an elite family, his brother went to Harvard, all this stuff. Like, you're not in the space to talk about screaming into the void. That is not your life, and that is not the life that you have lived. Now, the man went on an unhinged rant for a while. At least I thought it was a rant. I said to myself, he's unstable. He went on a rant. But then I figured it out, because he was tweeting insults to me. And you goofy girl, this your face, girl, just like a man child. So I said he's not well, because I see a lot of people who are not well. So that's what I said. But then I see something else, and it shows me that, like, no, Kweli's brother actually works with or for Kamala Harris, and he's moving in that environment. And so what he was doing wasn't some kind of just off one. That's not what it was. It was that somebody had talked to him, your brother, whoever, probably talked you into caping, because they know what we did to Kamala. Well, what did you all do to Kamala? Well, let's really talk about what happened. Kamala came out, and this is probably his meal ticket. This is probably if Kamala gets to the White House, Talib Kweli's brother is probably gonna be there in some kind of way. People have all these relationships that they don't reveal. You have to dig through their Twitter. One of the Breaking Brown family, the ADOS fam, dug through the Twitter, the Instagram, and found this. So you have to dig through all these crates to figure out that you all have all of these relationships that you should have said out front. But that's fine. That's perfectly fine, because they found it anyway. So we go to this, and that's going to be probably your brother's gravy train or whatever, what have you. So let's go to the second part of it. And you all have connections. You're part Caribbean, Kamala, immigrant family, all of these connections that you all have together. That's fine, but you should have let us know. And you should have let us know that they sent you. Hey, they sent me here. They sent me here to eviscerate this ADOS thing. Now, I'm not good at it. I'm going to fall all over myself. I'm going to take 2-3 poops and fall back in them. I'm going to get real mad because I have this egotistical idea of myself. I'm going to do a lot of silly stuff. But I'm coming anyway. Some people just fall into it. I'm here, and I feel like I can, but I can't. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to try. I'm going to give it a shot. So Talib Kweli came and he insulted everybody. I had people in my inbox saying, I didn't know he was like this. He's so nasty. He's so mean. I said, yeah, child, I blocked him a long time ago. I blocked him. When I went on Sunday and the man was tweeting, and I had dinner and watched movies and come back and he's still tweeting, something's not right, and you up to something and you not right. So I say all that to say this. Now, mind you, I want to put a kind of time frame on how all of this stuff is going down. Mind you, this is around the same time. I don't know if you all remember that you all remember on the Joy Reid show, we were all, the ADOS, all of us were derided as bots. We were all bots and we were all doing the bot thing, and oh my God, and they had this woman on the show. Let's just put this up big, at Digital Sister, who came on the show, child, and said she was an expert at bots. And I'm an expert at bots, and I've seen a lot of bots. And she said something very specific. She said that these bots are being used. These bots are being used with the ADOS hashtag, and they're being used to disguise themselves as ADOS people to undermine Kamala Harris and Cory Booker. Now we did kind of like take the steam out of Kamala Harris's campaign, but not because we were bots. We did not do that for that reason. We did that because Kamala Harris started talking about ADOS issues, right? She started talking about she announced her candidacy. Like, understand something. Kamala Harris announced that she was going to run for president at her alma mater, Howard University, which has a lot of financial problems, financial struggles. She announced that she was going to run at Howard University during MLK week, right? That's what she announced. Now, mind you, as an ADOS group, we have discussed this. If you're new here, this is what our data looks like in terms of incomes. Kamala Harris does not have that. She has a professor father, and she has a mother who was a scientist. Talib Kweli doesn't have that either. He has a very professional background. He has a brother who went to Harvard and Yale. He loves to brag about his elite background. I am from the creme de la creme. Why are you Negroes here? But you don't know nothing. But this is our life. So what I said in terms of Kamala Harris was, listen, Kamala, if you're going to come over here and you're going to cloak yourself in this poverty life that ADOS live, then you're going to have to give us a black agenda. If you're going to cloak yourself in ADOSness through the MLK holiday, and you're going to cloak yourself in ADOSness by being at Howard University and make that announcement, that's all fine. But we need an agenda that goes with your rhetoric. We need an agenda that goes with the rhetoric that you're using to buoy yourself. Because, see, we've kind of matured a little bit since Obama was president and since Obama ran. So we're not doing that thing anymore that we did last time, where we just go with you because you're the black candidate or whatever the case may be. We're not doing that identity politics only thing. You're going to have to come with something. And I don't think Kamala was ready for that. As a matter of fact, I know she wasn't, because now I don't even know what she's doing. She's floundering around somewhere trying to like figure out what this is, because she was ready to talk about DACA. Everybody was ready to talk about DACA. And now they're talking about reparations. They don't really know what to do with that. And so Kamala Harris comes from a Brahmin Indian, her mother's side, right? She's been kind of rebuked by her father, but that's the top caste. So you're a top caste and you're cloaking yourself in us as the bottom caste. And so you're speaking at Howard University, and Howard University has tremendous financial issues, as do most, if not all, HBCUs. So the question I pose is, what are you going to do with the HBCU that you're cloaking yourself in? I have not seen anything on your agenda that says what you're going to do for HBCUs. So when we started pressing Kamala Harris for an agenda, she started stumbling and having problems and talking about the LIFT Act. And the LIFT Act is not reparations. That's not what it is. The LIFT Act is a class-based thing that she's doing. And so when Kamala's when Talib Kweli, when his brother heard that, he probably sent Talib out. You gonna go talk about this? And then when we said, no, you don't know what you're talking about, you're wrong, he went crazy. So now we come all the way back. Now we're back. Now we're back to frame this to where we are. To people have to kind of understand what got us here, and the timing and the framework, because I'm just trying to update everybody to the timeline, right? Let's just get the timeline clear. The timeline is very specific in terms of when you look at how all of this is falling down. It becomes very suspicious. Quite actually, it becomes very suspicious. So this was the opening salvo was probably this article where Antonio Moore and I were interviewed in about Kamala's people saying, well, you're challenging her blackness. No, we were challenging whether or not she has the same lineage and being tied to slavery and that accrued disadvantage, not whether or not she was black. And so we had to make that whole case, which a lot of people misunderstood, and we clarified it. And so now here we kind of are. This was 12 days before the New York Times story. This was in the Inquirer. And so you have to give credit where credit is due as well. This was an Inquirer story, and the Inquirer deserves credit for this, because this is not the first story that they did about this topic. And shout out to the writer of the article, who was keeping her ear to the ground, Valerie Russ, and trying to figure out what this conversation was about, and talking to Antonio and I about it. So this is the timeline where we're all having this conversation, and Talib Kweli jumps into the conversation and jumps into the fray and goes on this whole unhinged rant. He's been going on the rant for like 2-3 weeks now. He's been going on the same rant for a very long time. It's very strange. But we come from here, we come from here, and but before that we came from here, and we were bots. Now we have something else that's very curious. So today Joy Reid decides that she's just not going to call us bots, because remember, that was the first salvo. I'm going to call these people bots and see if I can undermine ADOS that way. It was unsubstantiated. There was no proof that we were bots. Digital Sister on Twitter had no proof that we had been infiltrated by bots. And then there was no move to even hold Twitter accountable if that had been the case. But it was never proven, so it doesn't matter anyway, because you never proved it. You just came on TV and said something, because Joy Reid's show is a very lazy and uncritical show to be on. But it's Saturday or Sunday or whenever. It doesn't matter all that much. So let's just go to what she said. This is today. She's saying this today. She's saying this today. Now, we got reparations in the conversation with the Philly article and our online advocacy as an ADOS community. Now, here's what Joy Reid is saying today. What is interesting is that they are only focusing on yelling. They are not bots, but that's what you said. That's what you said. You brought somebody on the TV to say exactly that. You said that we were bots. That's what you said. So like we haven't gotten an apology from you about that. They are not bots, but not answering the central questions. Are they a pro-Trump group? Are they a pro-Trump group? As at least one of their leaders and some of their more prolific posters seem to be, because if so, it begs a question about 2020. It begs a question. Awaiting an answer on this, there certainly seems to be a blood and soil, anti-immigrant, anti-democratic, pro-Trump element at work, which would be fine if it was explicit. Let me just say something. I just want to say one thing. And I don't, this whole bots thing was first. This insinuation that we're Russian and getting Russian money, or we were backed by Russians or Russian support. That was the first insinuation. That was the first smear. And what you have to know when you look at this is that smear didn't take. Like you couldn't find any evidence. I know all of y'all did. I know who you call. I know a lot of places where you look. You couldn't find evidence because there was none, and there is none. And so now you're back here. You got to reframe this thing, because you and your boy been talking, Mr. Minister, because he was in it. The guy eviscerated last week. He was in there too. Yes, yes they are. Go find that whole tweet thread. They are ADOS Trump. They are. You're not even funny. Like I don't even know. Like I don't even know what people are doing. But he was in there too. So he was in there too. They were all in there having a conversation. And the thing that I really want you to understand let me just bring this back up. I don't talk. Let me tell you how lazy and irresponsible this was. Irresponsible to the point that I don't see how Joy Reid has a job. One of the things that they have pointed to in this conversation, this is just one of them, is that, well, in one of Yvette's videos, she used a prop hat. If you had seen the video, you would have known that we had a good time with that hat. That was way back during the time while I was with Army. It wasn't a show of support, but you never watched the video. You just kind of did a screenshot because you're responding to Talib Kweli. The second thing I want to say is this. How irresponsible is it? How irresponsible is it to say that and ask and insinuate and imply and suggest and to just say outright? Her last tweet, she just said it outright. Oh, you're Trump supporters or you're right wingers. It's good to know. And not even know my background. This is something that's very interesting because, you know, I had to pull this up because this is a very old article from The Hill, right? And if you look at this part right here, Yvette Carnell and Warwick Saban, that's the gentleman who was photographed next to me, have accepted new jobs with Arkansas Democrat Representative Marion Barry. Before that, I worked for Senator Barbara Boxer. After that, I worked for the DNC. Most recently, in my recent writings, I wrote for a leftist magazine. It is very irresponsible. It is very irresponsible to call somebody a right-winger who has spent their life working for the Democratic Party and has never worked for the Republican Party. I have overwhelmingly throughout my life voted for Democrats. I have only voted for a third-party candidate once in my life. Right? Once in my life I voted third party. I'm not 21. My whole career. And so you have to think about what it takes to smear somebody at that level because they've decided to be independent. But that's what Joy Reid is there for. You're there to smear me because I'm not going to get in line. You don't want me to think for myself on immigration. You don't want me to have y'all talk a good game, but y'all lie. Y'all don't want ADOS people to have a diverse and independent analysis on how we want to be on all the issues, whether it be candidates, whether it be immigration, whether it be whatever it was. Your problem with me is that I'm independent and you bought off. Your problem with me is that I don't want to come to MSNBC and that's what you do. Your problem with me is that I don't want to sit in your green room. I get no joy out of coming up there and I was on the Joy Reid show. Because she said something else like, well, they just want to get on TV. Joy Reid, show me the receipts. Show me where me or Tone Talks ever reached out to you via DM, email, whatever, and said, we'd like to be on your show. You said that, but I know why you can't do it because it never happened. We have never reached out to you personally or through a proxy or through anybody. We have never reached out to you in any way and asked to be on your show. And let me tell you something. Considering that you have smeared us, if I wanted to be on MSNBC tomorrow and answer those allegations, that is my right, sweetheart, because you don't own MSNBC. You're just a hired hand, and you can get fired all of the way of the other Negro whisperers. And it says something about you that you're the last Negro whisperer standing. Everybody else got gone. They got rid of everybody else, but they kept you, Joy Reid, for what? How? Why? What need are you serving over there? But let me tell you something. If I decided tomorrow that I wanted to go on MSNBC and answer these allegations and that I had a right to answer all of these smears that you have put out, if I decided that I wanted to do that, I wouldn't want to come on your show. I don't want to come on no little weekend show. I know ADOS. Understand that ADOS has made reparations the central issue right now in terms of the Democratic conversation amongst Democratic candidates for president, not dog catcher. So if I come on there No, we deserve better than to go on the Joy Reid show. You're not going to sit us on this little Negro show with all these little weak ratings, honey. I don't want to do that. I deserve better than that. The people who I represent deserve a whole lot more than to be on this little show. I don't want to be on no show with all these little falling ratings and child. I don't want that. I don't want that. That's not what I want in my life. What I want that for? What makes you think I want that? Like, understand. You have to understand that this is, Antonio and I have been quoted in a lot of stuff, and we have turned down more stuff because we have been very intentional in terms of where we want to have the conversation, the seriousness of the conversation. There's a reason why you haven't seen us sit down. Like, we are very intentional. Ain't nobody chasing you around, Joy. If I was going to be on MSNBC, I would be like, give me a prime time slot. Give me something from 6 to 9. I don't want no weekend, somebody got a leftover butter biscuit show. No, I'm not interested in no butter biscuits. I don't want to be there. I don't want to be on your show. And so you go through this whole thing. Like, this whole thing, she said, well, hard to argue with any of that. Seeing the blood and soil replacement, anti-DACA language coming out of black identifying tweeters is jarring. Get your sworn fan, you hothouse flower. It is jarring. It is jarring. It's very much classic Bannon, and the demand for airtime has been consistent as the demand that the media validate them as not bots. No, nobody, you so slow. Good God, where'd you come from? Like, listen, nobody is asking. We're not trying to ask the media, demand the media to validate us as bots. We're saying that you are an irresponsible fraud of a journalist because you went on TV and called us bots without any substantiating evidence. That's what we're saying. You cannot go on a national TV show and lie about a group of people. If we were bots, you should have asked Digital Sister to provide some kind of digital forensics. There is such a thing. Have you heard of it? You should have asked that. And if you cared about this ADOS group and this ADOS movement, which you don't, but if you did, you would have said, or somebody would have said, why don't you help them out? No, your job there is to help get Democrats elected, especially black Democrats, and to put them on forefront. So you put this slanderous, irresponsible bot conversation up. You did that. And then let me tell you, all these people, you cannot trust. All these people who are just trying to get on TV. Minister with 2 T's, which sounds like stuttering. Minister Star with 2 T's at Twitter. He did the same thing. He went on the Joy Reid show. Well, we're going to tell you about the reparations conversation and the reparations debate. We're going to tell you because we've been doing it for years, and the anti-Pan-Africanism is anathema. It's anathema to what we stand for. Who is we? You don't represent anybody. Like, who are these people? Let me see if I see this. Who do these people think that they're fooling? You don't represent. Who is we? When have you represented anybody? I'm just trying to figure this out. It don't make no sense to me. And here she goes. She said something else. She told us about where she was from. She told us about where she was from and who she is and what she... Child, look. I'm not an immigrant. I was born in Brooklyn. However, many enslaved New Orleans came over from Haiti. Marcus Garvey and Stokely Carmichael were black immigrants. Yeah, but you can't. Yeah, but your parents were Guyana and Congo. You can't just claim everybody else. That's like somebody from Ireland claiming somebody from Russia and what they did. And nobody's saying we don't have allies. You don't know enough for this conversation. You diving head on, you just makes you look a fool. You don't know enough. Now here's the key. I want you to read this last line. Please read it. Where the slave ship stopped is an odd thing to take pride in. Where the slave ship stopped is an odd thing to take pride in. Slavery was inhuman and evil and everywhere. You're slow. You're a slow person. I mean, there's no other way to say it. There's no other way to say it. We're not taking... Listen carefully, Joy Reid. I know you... Keep up. I know it's hard. I don't know what they do. And then you go to Harvard. How do you have such a hard time? I guess people be buying stuff in and just learning the test. I guess that's not a marker of anything. Because here's the thing, Joy Reid. We're not taking pride in where the boat landed. And it's funny that we come from slaves and you don't want to take pride in slaves, but you get to represent us on MSNBC. How is this woman get to represent us? She is being demeaning and diminishing what we do and where we come from. It's not an odd thing to take pride in the fact that you built the country. That's not an odd thing to take pride in. It's not an odd thing to take pride in the fact that we were the shoes that the people used to build wealth. It's not an odd thing to take pride in that this is our country and we're citizens and we've been here for centuries. It's not an odd thing to take pride in that we built the wealth and were the wealth that made this country the richest country in the world. You don't even understand America. You don't understand us. You get to represent us on MSNBC and you don't even understand who we are as a community. Do you understand? Do you understand how much that is a diminishment and a demeaning of who we are to say that's an odd thing to take pride in? So we can't take pride in our lineage. We can't take pride in our contribution to this country. And what gives you the right to tell us what we can and what we can't take pride in and what's odd? What gives you that right? Isn't it something? I don't even understand how we allow this to happen. Joy Reid is like first generation, right? Like how do we allow you to come here and tell us what we get to take pride in? Listen, you're not good at your job. You don't even do the research for your job. You don't understand us. You don't understand our community. I don't know why you have a job. I don't know why you have a job. It's never a good show. You've never been really fluid in terms of how you move on TV. You never bring anything to the table. You never have any insight. I want to know why you're still there. I understand they moved you. I understand that you just weekends and all that little, what was the little other show she had? The Reid Report. I understand why all your stuff fails. What I don't understand is why they keep trying to keep you around. What kind of need are you serving? Let's just be honest about it. Let's be honest about who you are. Let's be really honest about who you are. It's an odd thing to take pride in. See, that's the thing that they always... See, normally that stuff would fly with us. That's part of our problem. We have allowed that stuff to fly. So we've allowed people to say, well, we were slaves and we shouldn't be really taking pride in that. And, ain't no pride. Who are you to tell me what to take pride in? Who are you to look back at slave photos and what we went through and not take pride in the fact that we persevered? Who are you to tell us what to do and how to do it? You're nobody. Do you understand? Go back and look at her whole stuff. Ain't hardly no retweets. Don't nobody care what Joy Reid got to say. I don't even think when they talk about her ratings and all that stuff, we probably get here on a week 60,000. These are mostly ADOS people who watch my show. Joy Reid, you ain't getting most ADOS people. You ain't nobody showing up. Don't nobody ever say, man, I got to go see what Joy Reid say about this. Don't nobody care. You're there where you are off of the benevolence of the people of MSNBC. You have no real talent. You have no real integrity. So I understand why you don't understand my level of integrity because you don't have any. I understand because let me just say something. Do you all remember? I don't know whether anybody remembers. But do you all remember when Joy Reid got in all that trouble? Over her controversial comment, I don't know if everybody remembers what she got in trouble for. But I think what we have to understand is prior to 1965, in terms of who she is, and we're going to put that in the context of how she got in trouble. So prior to 1965, Black people of foreign birth residing in the United States were nearly invisible other than students. According to the 1960 census, their percentage was below 1%. Who do you think you're talking to? You need to talk to some respect when you're talking to the people who built this country. You weren't here in any kind of numbers. It was the Immigration Act that made that possible. Now you over here talking like we all the same, and you don't understand that we know better. And so when you look at how she got in trouble, you see how she doesn't understand and how she's loose. So when you see this, okay, so you say, Yvette, how did she get in trouble? What happened? I don't understand. Well, it was very interesting how she got in trouble with all these blog posts. Some of the ways she got in trouble, right? She got in trouble for criticizing Israel, but she also got in trouble for some kind of anti-LGBT comments. So the question isn't whether any of this is right or wrong or anything like that. Getting in trouble these two different ways don't make sense. See, because people who normally criticize Israel are normally liberal or on the left. People who normally criticize the LGBT community are normally center-right or right. These two things don't go together. You're criticizing everything from both sides. So you're over here when you're on the left when you're criticizing Israel, but you're on the right when you're criticizing the LGBT community. So the question becomes, who are you, Joy Reid? Because a person who has like a solid ideology, they would usually be one way or the other. Don't matter which one's right, which one's wrong. They would usually be over here, over there. When I look at the fact that you're doing both of these things, the only thing that tells me is that you don't have a moral compass. You were writing those blog posts to get on. You were writing those blog posts because you're a vapid careerist. You were writing those blog posts because you were going to go anywhere. If Fox News had called you first, you would have went to Fox. You went to MSNBC or whatever because that's the first place you got put on. But you was writing those blogs. Hell, if Drudge had called you, you would have went there. There is no doubt in my mind. If Rush Limbaugh had said, we want you to come there, you'd have become a conservative. You are a careerist. You are void of any kind of values, any kind of substance. So I understand why you don't understand me. I understand why you don't see what I see. I understand why you're trying to diminish me. I understand why you're trying to diminish ADOS in general. I get it. Because you get your marching orders. You and your boy, your dude, what's his minister. Let's talk about you one more time, sir. Since you were in this Twitter thread with Joy Reid too, let's talk about you one more time. You don't get to talk about reparations, because let me show you who you're with in this video. This is you tweeted this 2000 this is February of 2019 this year. I want you to understand something. Let me slow down and just show you something. Minister went on, I don't even know what the man's child, what's his name? Y'all say his name in the chat, child. Minister, I just like Minister. But he went on to Al Sharpton's show. If you are a person who says you are in favor of reparations, I want you to understand how problematic it is to be with Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton said on 60 Minutes, if you don't believe me, go look it up, that he was not going to criticize Obama in the first term. In the second term, Obama did an interview with Ta-Nehisi Coates and said he didn't agree with reparations for a number of reasons, one of which the new immigrants might be upset and they don't feel like they should have to pay this, as if we are doing a la carte taxation. There are some bombs that are in taxes that I would prefer not to pay for. There are some prisons that I would prefer not to pay for, but we don't do taxation that way. But Al Sharpton supported a president unyieldingly and without flinching. Unflinchingly, he supported Obama for all them 8 years, and Obama was always opposed to reparations. You cannot be seen with a man all the time who was supporting a president who's opposed to reparations, and I never seen you not one time go at Al Sharpton about his position on reparations. You just want to be on TV. You too old for this. You too, minister, you too old for this. Your locks is gray. You too old to be coming on TV just to be on TV and trying to be getting shown. You got a gray beard. Hang it up, sir. Hang it up. It's over. All this little stuff you doing to be shown. I know what you want. You want to be the next Al Sharpton. You want to be the next Jesse Jackson. Well, I'm letting you know right here, sir, it ain't happening. We are getting in the way of any kind of thing you're trying to do, because I know how you've been moving. I'm not going to talk about how you've been moving and trying to influence people online and everywhere else. I've seen you move. It ain't going to work. You know why it's not going to work? Because you, like Joy Reid, you are unimportant. Don't nobody need you for nothing. You don't even have no money to pay nobody off. Like, what are you doing? You're moving too much. You're moving too much, and you're moving in a way. I mean, like, look at this guy. Like, he was on Twitter trying to influence people. He was on Joy Reid's show trying to influence people. He was all over. He was talking about, he was in the Joy Reid comments trying to influence people. All in the comments, all in the tweets, talking about, yeah, they for Trump. They for Trump. Yeah. Who? What you talking about? Like, what evidence do you have? Let me tell you how much this is such a catch-22. Because what happens is, if we say something, do you all remember? I don't know if you are. One of the things that's come up a lot is my Trump video. Do you all remember that Trump video where I said Trump is right about black poverty? Do you all remember that? Okay. If you all, for the people who watch that video, what you see is that I say he's right about the fact that Trump is right about the fact that we're poor. The data supports that. And I said we should not be fighting over whether or not we're poor. That is a given. We should be asking Trump what he's going to do about it. We should be asking Trump what is he going to do about it. You saying what Angela Rye said and saying that no, we ain't all poor. Some of my friends got money. Who cares? Like, that's anecdotal, and I ain't seen them friends' bank accounts. I don't want to hear nothing about nobody else got money if you ain't willing to log in and show me. You can log in on your phone. Log in on your phone, and you show me what you got, and it's all good. Show me what you got. Log in on your phone right now. It's okay. You can't tell me, well, you know, you can't give me like that Kevin Hart joke, well, you know, the way my account works. No, if you got money, show me. If your friends got money, show me. But even that is just anecdotal. We've seen the data on Black life. And this data, once the data became available, when the data changed, I changed. So once I saw this data, that makes it clear. It makes it clear that we are poor. So he's right about black poverty. The question, I said we should not be fighting Trump on whether or not we're poor. That's a given. We should be asking him and demanding of him as a presidential candidate to do something about it. I said the whole thing was about he didn't have an agenda. Don't fight him about whether or not the data is true. It is absolutely true what he said. The question is, what is he going to do about it except just talk about it? How do we miss so many opportunities as a people? Well, my friends wear fancy hats. My friend wear couture. Child, what? Like, I didn't even know this guy, this minister. Like, this man, I didn't even know this man before he showed up on the Joy Reid show and started talking about didn't nobody know you. And started talking about how what the real reparations were. What kind of real, when Obama was president, you had access to Al Sharpton because you have other pictures with Al. You got pictures with Al. You got pictures. I think that Jesse at the bottom. You got pictures with all these people. You have an access. I don't have access to these people. Like, what did you do? What did you do to push reparations in your conversations with these people? You eating dinner with them and you got on fancy sweaters. What did you do? What did you push? When you was in there, what did you say about reparations? Did you just show up at the fish club, at the hunting fish club? Y'all showed them like to take pictures. What did you do? What did you do? I want to know what you did. I want to know what you did when you went to dinner with them people, or did you just say, "Can y'all make me can y'all make me the next one of y'all? I really need to go from this serious thing to a real job. I need a real paying job. I want to be at MSNBC. I think I can put on a fancy suit and I can pull it off if y'all just put in a good word for me." Is that what you did? Because I know you didn't say nothing about reparations. You didn't say nothing about reparations in your tweets or whatever. What work have you been doing to lay the foundation for reparations? When you want to get on Joy Reid show and talk about, well, what we're doing, this is antithetical, and see these Democrats. You know, it's a catch-22 for us, right? Like, you know, if you say something, if you make a demand of Trump and say Trump is right about poverty, but what is he going to do about it is the question. Oh, you in the bag for Trump. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. I always knew it. But then if you go to Democrats and say, you know, Democrats are taking our vote for granted. What are you all going to do in terms of reparation of black agenda? Oh, you only want to hold Democrats accountable. I knew it. What kind of catch-22 crazy business are y'all on? And Joy Reid, why don't we talk about how you in the bag and doing all that stuff with Alex Jones? Reid, a liberal commentator who has been under fire for homophobic comments that have been found on her now defunct blog, promoted a 9/11 a 9/11 film co-produced by Alex Jones, the far-right media figure who has touted numerous conspiracy theories on InfoWars website. But you gonna call me right-wing and you running around promoting some Alex Jones stuff. What's wrong with you? Reid has previously claimed her blog was hacked, but then we found out that it was hacked. And that she was unaware that the anti-gay comments had been asserted had been inserted under her name long after she had stopped writing it. MSNBC has stood by her pending FBI investigation. Then she came, then next thing I know, she apologized and ran off somewhere. You know, and she was at Harvard. This is what, you know, when you at Harvard, good. There's no blacks there. There's hardly any ADOS there. Like maybe 2%. I mean, just to get like what this is the person doing this trying to is the person who was in that spot, in that slot. And the same way you tried to, I was hacked. It wasn't me. Excuse me, I got the code. The way you did that, the same way you accused us of bots. You just always just make up stuff. When does it end though? Like, when does this whole career of making up stuff just end? And then there's something else that you did that really bothered me. Because I'm not gonna, one of the things that I'm not gonna do is have like my people like smeared. And here's what you said. Now understand that language is important. There's a such thing as a connotation, there's such thing as a denotation. Denotation is like, that's a definition. The connotation is a word has a certain feel. It's used in a certain way, in a certain context normally. And so it takes on a different meaning and feel, and that's a connotation. And here's what she said about us. I've read their manifesto, including its praise for Republican presidents and denigration of President Obama. I've checked out their blood and soil, Bonanite rhetoric. Just asked a few questions to try and get even more information, which I feel I got, thanks. I want you to pay close attention to that word manifesto. The word manifesto is not normally used in the context of people who have an agenda. We wrote out, this is what we wrote out on the website. And we didn't write it out. It wasn't pro-Republican. We just want Republicans and Democrats to put their money where their mouth is. And we said former Republican President Ronald Reagan committed to strengthen the capacity of historically black colleges. And what that really means for us is money for historically black colleges. It means money for HBCUs. So we're telling them, you all say we don't make Republicans accountable. What we're trying to do in this conversation is make Republicans accountable. We're making Republicans accountable for what Reagan said, to make that word deed. But then you say, you all don't hold Republicans accountable. Yeah, we just did. That's why we put it in there. What are you talking about? But the whole word manifesto is used. It's usually used in terms of violent regimes or shooters or something like that. The New Zealand shooter wrote a manifesto. You used that word on us? You described us as having a manifesto? Isn't that interesting? And it's not the only time. If you just use, look, it's not the Oregon authorities released manifesto from mass shooting. Manifesto has a very negative connotation, and she did that intentionally. She did that intentionally to undermine our efforts. Understand something. If you don't understand anything else, understand that Joy Reid is anti-reparations. She is anti-reparations because she don't get a check. And it's not just about a check. It's about everything that comes with it. It's about all the benefit that comes with it. But if it's not going to impact her positively, because she's not tied to slavery and that accrued disadvantage, why would she push for it? She's not going to push for anything that advantages this group, that imperils the Democratic Party. Her job is not to help us get out of where we are. Her job is not to help us, close the racial wealth gap. Her job is not to help us, deal with, mitigate the consequence and accrued disadvantage that come from slavery. Her job is to do what Democrats want her to do in terms of, we're not going to give reparations. So you got to make these people shut up, because we're not doing that. And these people done got in the way of Kamala, whatever your name is today. Kamala, they done got in the way of Kamala, they done got in the way of Cory Booker, and then making all these Bernie Sanders is tripping all over himself. He done hurt his forehead, he got a big band-aid on there. He done made, these people done tripped everybody up. So you're going to have to get out there. That's why you here. You out here to trip up other black people. Do you understand that? You are black, but they ADOS. You out here to throw your foot in front of them and make sure they fall. You're not here to help. You're there to imply and suggest certain things about them and hope that the people who watch your Twitter and watch your show say, oh my God, they really are Trumpers. They really are Trumpists. But it's your job as a journalist. It's your job as a journalist to actually do the research. It's not your job as a journalist to go on Twitter and be like, I think I may have heard. Oh, I wonder. You're not Sherlock Holmes. I mean, Sherlock Holmes did solve stuff. So you worse. You're not. You're not. What do you think, Watson? Watson, are you there? That's not your job. Your job is to, like, if I'm tied to Trump, you need to get a check or a bag of money or a shadow group and be like, aha. But I know you don't have no aha moment because I'm not. So I know you done look for it, Joy, and you couldn't find it because it's not there. Just say, like, I'm wrong. I apologize. I should have never called you bots, and I should have never said you were tied to Trump because you ain't. And retire. Because we're not doing this thing anymore that everybody gets to just be up at this little job and they just do whatever they do for the Democrats, and you're just a mouthpiece of the party. We're not doing that no more. And I think part of the thing is not just about reparations in terms of Joy Reid. Part of the problem is that this understanding of ADOSness rearranges blackness in terms of, like, who we are, like in terms of tying ourselves to a specific lineage and Americanness, as opposed to just this kind of flat blackness where anybody with melanin is black. You know, we've talked about crayons enough. I keep them around just to keep putting them up. That blackness is not crayons. In terms of our lineage, we are a specific tribe with a specific justice claim that has nothing to do with all these crayons. All these colors. You can be Indian American, you can be an ally, but you're not us. You can be Ghanaian, you're a great ally. Ethiopian, you can be a good ally, but you're not us. We are very specific. And everybody else gets to be specific, but when they come to America, everything has to be flat. We all black the same. No, that ain't how it works. And so once that reorganizes, we're reorganizing that understanding. And once that happens, you know that you're in trouble. Because not only are you're not one of us, you're not even an ally, and you don't even really talk to us enough to understand what's going on with us, because if you did, you wouldn't have said all that stupid stuff you said on Twitter today. So I think you know that that's going to be a problem. I think you know that if this happens, you can't sister girl your way into our lives anymore. Well, yeah, sister, I know, honey. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's not the same lineage. You don't sister girl me. Call me by my name. I don't know you. You ain't no ally. You ain't nothing. You just run around saying weird stuff. We got a manifesto. No, if you go to ADOS101.com, we have an actual agenda. We have an actual agenda that goes from everything from mass incarceration to HBCUs to black business. Understand what it means that Joy Reid said what she said about us. Understand how dastardly that is. You know, you're trying to undermine the first reparations push in 100 years with Russian accusations with no proof. That's what we have in Joy Reid. Understand that that's what we have in her. We don't have anything good. We're supposed to have an ally on TV. Instead, what we have is somebody who's trying to undermine this real reparations push. For the first time, we have people on TV who are national presidential candidates who are forced to come to terms and talk about this and tell us what their view is. And instead of supporting that reparations push, you're gonna bring on somebody who's just really odd, Pan-Africanist, who's talking about stuff he don't really understand, and say they just want to hold Democrats accountable, and then you want to come on and say we Republican, but you don't have no proof of that. Only thing you have is like, oh, look at this, is that a MAGA hat? You have no idea what the video was, and then you go in, well, the Trump says Trump was right. Anybody says Trump is right must be no. The question was, you all didn't go far enough. It's not a question of whether or not we're poor. That's a given. I know exactly why we're poor, though. I know that it comes all the way from poverty. It's an accrued disadvantage. And my question, I'm not going to fight you on the fact that we're poor. I'm going to say, give me a specific policy that you have to deal with it. And let me tell you something. If you all had done that, Trump might not be president. if instead of saying we ain't poor, if you had called on him and said, give us specific stuff, not only for poor people, give us specific stuff for ADOS, and he would have been bumbling around, you might have gotten him out of here, but you didn't. You're not good at your job. You're just not good at what you do. We didn't disparage Obama or talk bad about Obama. We talk bad. She said, these people are talking bad about Obama. I know that's your homeboy. But like we talked about Republicans and Democrats. We've talked about how Trump's budget is going to gut Black America. We've had very specific discussions about how horrible his budget is for us. You should have found that video and done your research. And the stuff we said about Obama was about like the Small Business Association and no loans. The stuff we said is how we were worse off after Obama, and Obama created all those white millionaires. We were critical of policies. We were not critical of him because he's a black man. Or, we're not going to stand for somebody because of who they are identically. No, he was opposed to reparations. Think about that. How can you come to, like, it's so much harder now. We have to, but it's so much harder now to come to these white people and say, what are your view on reparations? When the first black president put a dagger in it. It's so much harder. It's so much harder when the first black president was a failure for our community. It's so much harder. And it's so much harder when the reporters when the black reporters are failures as well. You all are failures. It's just so ridiculous. I mean, it's just, all this manifesto talk and all this weird talk and all this. I mean, it's just, I'm awaiting answers, and this little man who's trying to be the next Al Sharpton, don't nobody know where he come from. I didn't even know that man's name until he was on the Joy Reid show. I ain't never heard of that man. He be on, listen, you better stop playing with me, little minister man. I'm very happy with my little space on YouTube and my corner with the ADOS community, but you don't get no views on Sirius. I'll contact them and tell them I got a whole following, and I have to tell them that my only thing I want in return is that I can come in there personally and snatch your little Sirius thing from behind you while you on air. You better get somewhere and calm yourself down and figure out who you want to work for. You getting too old to be this duplicitous. How do you be this old and still want to be on TV? And still want to be that? God, what's wrong with these people? Like, I ain't never wanted to be on TV. And there ain't no more TV. Like I said last time, you put this thing, if you play this YouTube video, it'll play on your TV. You just got to hit a little button and the thing will play on your TV. I don't need that. What's wrong with y'all? Y'all so thirsty. I ain't never seen so many thirsty Negroes in my life. Just want to be on TV for nothing. Just want to be on TV. You don't even get paid to show up on Joy Reid's show. You just got to sit in the green room and you take 10 pictures with everybody else who's on the show. What's wrong with y'all? Little thirsty Negroes. I'm so tired of y'all. God, I wish somebody had gave y'all a drink of water. I ain't never seen something. Well, everybody, I don't want to be in your green room. And I think it bothers you that I don't. I think it bothers you. I think it really bothers you that I ain't trying to be there. I don't know what to tell you though. And then you ask will the movement disappear from social media post-election? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? We were here before Trump. We were here. I was doing a show the night Trump got elected. What are you talking about? You don't know enough. What do you mean will it disappear? Do you know I've been doing this since like 2011? I've been doing this since like 2011. Trump got elected in 2016. Like, what year Trump? When did Trump get? When that 2019? Yeah, like I've been here for a long time. What are you talking about? What are you thinking? Like, who told you to do this? You better stop listening to Minister Tata. Some of y'all get real led astray. People, I tell you what we gotta do. Minister came up there with his satchel, child. I'm gonna tell you exactly what gotta be said. I want you to go on there. I want you to go hard. And I want you to just throw out these allegations. Just put them on the table. And we're going to see how everything gonna work out. No, it's not going to work here. So anyway, fam. I said I was going to go short. Still went long. Anyway, fam. Give me a couple minutes to set up the phones. And then I want to hear what you all have to say if you've been able to check the Twitter. And we'll come back and we'll have a conversation. somebody said boycott the Joy Reid show. Child, with them ratings, they already boycotting. Woo! Somebody got to come up with a butter biscuit song. Butter biscuit. Somebody got to get a little beat for a butter biscuit. Anyway, let's get serious in here. Hit that like button for me, fam, if you have not done that already. We are going to go to the phones. We are coming to 402 first. 402, what is your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Good evening, Yvette. My name is Stu. I'm calling from Omaha, Nebraska. How are you this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm good. This is going to be a quick call. Okay. I just wanted to point out that in conversations on Twitter and Facebook and elsewhere on social media, one of the other places that the ADOS designation is very useful is in talking to first and second generation Europeans. A lot of times they will jump into a conversation. I was talking to this guy, and he's reparations is stupid, it will never happen, blah 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 blah. When I finally turned it around on him and I said, well, what's your American story? He's like, well, I'm a first generation European immigrant. And when he told me from where, I'm like, well, how would I look coming to your home country and jumping into a justice claim that was hundreds of years old? What makes you think that you have any authority to really chime in on the issue? Because it's clearly something that predates your experience here. And it was a productive dialogue, but it made me appreciate a lot better that a big part of the justice claim is not only citizenship, but like rank. This group of people that's 12 and 13 generations deep in this country. And so when you stand up as a first or second or third generation American, it's not an inferiority, superiority thing. It's simply a matter of, this is an experience that we are, 400 years into, and you got a lot of nerve jumping up here after 25 minutes, and you want the microphone. So I won't keep you very long. I appreciate you taking the call.
No, I appreciate you, fam. I appreciate it. I think what the caller just said is very interesting, in terms of the question. The question is very interesting. What is your American story? I think that's a question that we have to ask people. And if you're going to talk to, this country had an influx of immigrants in terms of 1965. We talk about that, right? And we have conversations about that. But I think if you're going to have a TV show, when we talk about rank, I think the question becomes, especially when you look at everything I said about Joy Reid in this episode, and you look at how limited we are in terms of ADOS in media. That's our show. Like you are condemning us. Understand that she is condemning ADOS and ADOSness and ADOS advocacy from a show that by rights should be our show. That shouldn't even be your show. And because an ADOS person, you might have to stay quiet. But to condemn us from that perch and to not have this American story. I don't like anybody condemning us. I don't like Sharpton condemning us, anybody else. But especially from a position where you have to ask by what right. And I think he was very good at doing that. It's not because you had any kind of superior journalistic background. That much is obvious. It's been obvious for a very long time. So I think the question becomes, by what right are you condemning us? You're not condemning us from ADOS to ADOS in terms of your background and your lineage. So by what right do you have an American story that you can condemn us? And you showed that when you talked about slave ships. That's an odd thing to be proud of, or that's an odd thing to be. Yeah, by what right are you there? 33 million ADOS are supposed to be able to speak through a space on MSNBC to strengthen us all. Like, you're supposed to be doing this advocacy from MSNBC to speak for this group and to tell this story. And instead of doing that, you are shouting us down. And so for me, I'm saying, by what right are you there? And by what right are you shouting us down? And by what right do you even have that perch? Because you're not even good at what you do. So I'm going to the next caller. Next call is coming from 973. 973, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, Yvette? I'm going to make this real fast.
No problem.
I thought you were going to come to me later. Hey, listen, I agree with the gentleman who just called, because I was on your timeline, and I was looking at the East Indian guy that you retweeted. And it's just a simple case of people that's immigrants that clearly mind their business. And I'm reading a book right now called The Warmth of Other Suns. And if anybody wants a clear understanding of why reparations is needed, I suggest they read that book. And it's also interesting that Barack Obama suggested that book. So when I know that this guy read that book and he still governed the way he governed as it relates to black people, that is unexcusable. I mean, you possibly couldn't have read that book and comprehend with the author, the message and the narrative that the author was trying to convey.
Or you comprehend and you don't care, caller. Or you comprehend, but you really don't care. You don't have any connection to this group. Not really.
Or you really don't care.
Yeah.
Clear. So I'm just going to end with this. I just hope that you said something interesting, like you just said. You said Joy Reid is just an employee. So I just hope that we're not spending our wheels and basically going up against the help when the real issue is the DNC and these the corporate heads of these corporations. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't want to get us caught up in this. And even with reading that book, when it was the Atlanta University president that pushed out W.E.B. Du Bois, so E.B. Du Bois going up against Booker T. Washington. I just hope we don't get caught up in this constant battle with other black people.
Well, we have to. But let me just say this. Let me just say this, caller, real quick. We have to. Now the question becomes, how long does that have to last? But we have to, because there are a lot of people who are there as gatekeepers to make sure that we don't get to that next level. That's their job. So I appreciate you calling in, Carl. I'm getting like a little, I don't know whether the noise is me or it's you. I appreciate you calling in. But yeah, I think one of the things that has to happen. I think that has to happen because we have allowed so much to kind of go unpunished, right? And so you just get to say whatever and do whatever. And if we're speaking reparations and talking black agenda and advocating for that, and there's somebody with a TV show who is black, who is advocating against that and mischaracterizing us as Trump supporters and mischaracterizing us as right wingers, you have to call them. You have no choice but to call those people to account. You know, and they don't have any following. They understand that Joy Reid brought a guy onto the show to kill the reparations movement. That's what she did. Like Minister he was brought on to kill ADOS. That's what he was brought on to say, well, this is an authentic. What you been doing? You haven't been doing anything. This is the authentic movement that brought reparations to the foreground, and it's the reason that all these presidential candidates are being asked whether or not they support it. What are you talking about? She brought him on to tout some Pan-Africanist stuff and all this stuff so that our movement gets gutted. Like, what do you know? We have to go at that because you came at us. Understand that we have not fired the first shot on this stuff. This is not what happened. I don't think we understand what life looks like without reparations. When I put that article up a few weeks ago, how white kids are living great off of their parents and parents' money. What happens with wealth, and we'll talk about this a little bit tomorrow in terms of the book. What happens with wealth is that after it's created, the people who created it and have got a lot of it, they lock it in. They lock it in this key and it's done. Because then it goes from an undeveloped country to a developed country. There's a period where wealth is created. If you were not there during that period, you have no wealth. And in the richest country in the world, we're not in the third world country where stuff is real cheap and maybe you go get a fish out the river or whatever. You just starve out. And I don't think we understand that we're an economically dead group without us giving the money that we're owed. And America has done it before. So it's not like you don't know how. That's why I took issue with Bernie. What did it look like? I don't know. No, Bernie. And if you don't know what it looked like, why didn't you support a bill? Why didn't you present a sort of HR 40 bill in the Senate and support that and figure out what it looks like? None of this is an excuse for these people. Like, we are an economically starved group. That's what we are, and that's the problem. I'm going to 502. 502, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
This is Michael Hicks from Louisville, the home of the greatest Muhammad Ali and the home of the October ADOS conference.
What's going on, Michael?
It's like I said on Twitter, Yvette. It appears we've got a menagerie of strange bedfellows coming after ADOS leadership and us. We got establishment Democratic operatives. That's who Joy Reid is. We got aged cultural nationalists who don't know how to tweet or YouTube, and they got caught flipping. And we've got diasporans benefiting from the Crayola okie-doke. The particularly awful thing about all of this, Yvette, are people like Joy Reid are hidebound to the Democratic Party establishment and the corporate interests that are wrapped around that over our interests, over the interests of ADOS. But they don't tell us that explicitly. They just attack. But they don't talk about who they're hidebound to. And who they're hidebound to is not us. We understand the stakes. Look, I've got a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. I want them to have a chance in this country. They deserve to have the chance to be first-class citizens. They deserve to have the ability to be able to do some wealth transfer down to their descendants. I know what the stakes are. When you're talking about over the next 25 years, $68 trillion are going to be change hands, going to be passed down to predominantly white people. There's going to be hardly any of that that's going to be ADOS. Those are the stakes. That's what we're dealing with. That's how serious it is, and that's why we can't play with these people.
I agree, Michael. I agree. I don't think people realize, like, this is it. Like, there is no, people get into this idea of, well, I'm going to make my money. I'm going to do it big. And it's just like, no, this is not the moment that we're in. Like, if we had gotten reparations right after the Civil War, like then, and we had gotten protection from the government to leave us alone and allow our businesses to flourish, then we would have had a class structure.
That's right.
But we didn't have that. So now you have to pay for that. There is no like, well, I'm not going to pay for it. We're just going to have class policies. Understand that. Understand that people always tell us about we're just going to have class politics. We had class politics with the New Deal. Didn't we get shut out of it? We had class politics with the GI Bill. Didn't we get shut out of it? We get shut out of class politics all the time. We need something that is race specific.
My Alabama ancestors on my mother's side and my Mississippi ancestors on my father's side were explicitly shut out of the New Deal. Explicitly. Had sharecroppers in our family. My mom, as a young girl, going out to occasionally pick the cotton fields, go out to pick cotton for 10 hours a day during the summer for $3. And she knew right off then and then, as a 6-year-old girl in 1950, that wasn't going to be the life for her. So, I can go back and look at the vestiges of what ADOS life and legacy looked like, and I don't even have to go all the way back when folks, like our detractors and enemies want to talk about, oh, that was so long ago, why can't y'all get over that? No, it has extensions that have reached out. It reaches out into our lives today. I mean, how does it reach out into our lives today? How do we know? The median net worth of ADOS families is $1,700 minus depreciating goods. We know this. And since we know this, we know what we have to do.
And let me say one other thing, Michael. You don't even money is a part of it. Thank you, fam, for calling in. Money is the biggest part of it in the wealthiest country in the world. But let me just say this. I'm going to just say this too. And a great call, Mike. I'm going to just say this. Listen, you also see, if you're honest with yourself, if you are dishonest with yourself, there's nothing I can do. I cannot help. You will look around your family and see the dysfunction. You will look around your family and see the dysfunction. I don't care whether it's prison or your auntie stole all the macaroni or whatever, or one somebody be in pocketbooks, or somebody just go off all the time, or whatever the case may be. Like, you will see, like, this, there are so many vestiges that come all the way from slavery, and they have created like these specific dysfunctions, like not just dysfunctions in us, but dysfunctions in terms of what happens when you go to prison, or what happens when one of your parents was on drugs and one of them went to prison and you was in a foster home and you had to live that life. Like, there are dysfunctions that are not even economic that are built into this, but in order to take care of that, you got to have money. You got to have money for everything you need. You got to have money for your therapy. You got to have money. You got to have the lineage therapy. You got to have money for the medicine. You might have some kind of trauma that's created a psychiatric trauma in you. All of this stuff is baked into our life. And so something very specific has to come to undo that. So I'm going to 31059. I'm coming to you.
What up? This Tone Talks.
What up, Tone?
I just wanted to kind of call in and give my piece. Shout out ADOS conference. See y'all October 4th. It's weird because if you can you pull up the chart with the blue lines and bottom half of the race worth less than $1? It's weird because I don't think we understand that this started really. We've been using ADOS for almost like a year and a half, maybe even 2 years. The Philly Inquirer, and you can put it small because I'm going to talk about it in a second. The Philly Inquirer did the piece, and it included reparations. That's what triggered this discussion, along with us doing the work on the internet and tweeting and actually also getting people to sign on to HR 40. I don't think that we've gotten enough credit for the amount of work that you guys have done to get House of Rep people that for decades have never signed on to HR 40 to sign on to HR 40. I don't think that Yvette has gotten enough credit for what she did with Loudoun County and what you guys did to support her with the Loudoun County push. Joy Reid, look, I was nominated for an Emmy on the documentary. The reason why we got nominated is we found the Nicaraguans that were involved with the Iran-Contra for the first time ever on camera. They said when we found them in Nicaragua, Managua, they said Maxine Waters couldn't find me, John Kerry couldn't find me, you found me. That's how you got nominated. Joy Reid came from the Griot. And I shout out to the Griot in the sense of Byron owns it, but like, she don't have that journalistic background to really have like that kind of show or justify her being able to sit up there and speak the way she speaks to me. I think that what we see, and we see it with Bree Joy as well, we see this occupation of going to an Ivy and being in some weird, like a lawyer, and then I just want to be on TV. So then all of a sudden you say, what's my path to being on TV? Well, you went to Harvard, so you're halfway there because ain't no other black people here. So I'm just going to act like I'm going to speak for black people, even though I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to black people. And then I'm just going to fake that and ride with it. And you see that with Joy Reid, just real scattered and everything else. And the reason why I think this is important is when we come from the Philly article and the push that we made, HR 40, and getting people to sign on and making reparations a national discussion, what Joy Reid specifically did is try to tie us to the Russian box. Mm-hmm. I'd never even heard of that before Joy Reid's show. None of y'all had heard of that either. I think it's awful. I don't believe she deserves a show. That's why I tweeted her bosses. That's why she was mad today. I believe she was mad today because of the tweets I put out where I attacked all of the vice presidents of programming at different levels and demanded of them an apology like the Jewish people got, and also to explain how this show made sense because she didn't have any evidence. And so what we see is, and just give me a minute just to clear this up, we don't have black media right now because of Joy Reid and people like her. You guys don't know, but like pretty much in all of these media companies, newer immigrants occupy all of the gatekeeping positions. Them and biracial people. But primarily newer immigrants. Like, you'll see them as I believe Chris Matthews, programming director. I believe Joy Reid's booking. I'm sorry, Chris Matthews booking director. Joy Reid's program director. These are all. It happened with the City Lab article we brought up before. So we can't even have the discussion around our own lineage because the space that these people occupy that came out of supposedly representing us it doesn't help them to let us speak and tell everybody else these aren't us. These are not us like the movie, just copied. And so, like, I say all that to say to y'all, we've seen this Russian scare before with Martin Luther King Jr. during the Montgomery bus boycott. That's how they tried to undercut the Montgomery bus boycott. They wanted to say it was Russian funded with no support. But it just didn't come from a black immigrant. It came from white folks. But a black immigrant now is doing it with no support. And so I say to y'all, the reason why I brought up the blue lines is because me and Yvette, we talk, just to tell y'all, we talk at least like an hour and a half, 2 hours every day. And one of the things that she calls me, and she calls me a wizard, because what y'all don't understand is this has been a brainchild for me for a long time. Because my parents had me so young, I really wanted to know the mapping of America. I'll never forget my great aunt tells me, sits me down, I'm like 20 years old, she said, you got to know the map. And so, like, I started to lay out the map, and I realized none of you guys know it. Like this chart came from Matt Brunig, but I added the yellow and the red so that you guys can actually understand. Because if you just saw the chart, you wouldn't know that. That's telling you that the bottom half of the race has no wealth, zero. That's also telling you a second thing. Understand that there's 20 million black households. Out of that 20 million, according to like Darity's work, and I've seen Pew Research, maybe 3.5 million are newer immigrants, and they're just they're first generation children. 3.5, 4 million. So there's 20 million families. 16 million are ADOS, full. A full 4 million are immigrants. Now this is where it gets tricky though. The top 20% of this race has almost 90% of the race's wealth. Well, I'm willing to roughly say, again, this is based on just, if you look at the film and the Ivies and everything, of the top 20%, their 4 million families, half might be in the top 20%. We saw the reflection of that in the data in Los Angeles as an example, where the middle Nigerian family is worth $100,000, particularly the West African family. So you have these families occupying and creating a false narrative that we have atop this little top 20, but then they're overwhelmingly represented in the top little 4 million families. You can't play with this no more, because what happens next is that if you don't get reparations, you economically die out. But if they don't get reparations, which they shouldn't get anyway, they don't. We still also haven't established whose families sold slaves. All these regions that these people's parents come from, the elite, these people's parents are not senators and garbage men. These are professionals that come from very elite tribes, Igbo and the like. We saw it with the New Yorker article. Why don't they have to tell us that their family sold slaves? I mean, all of this, and then you start dealing with the personal realities of Joy Reid. I'll leave it at this. You have somebody who basically was blogging conservative stuff, talking to two people that have been lifelong advocates for black politics. Understand the awfulness of this woman. We basically, all my writing, there's no singular writing where all of a sudden I just wrote a piece where Alex Jones is great, or this woman is the erraticness of bringing in a separate group that comes from elite backgrounds in another country into a group that is the bottom dweller slave group in this country that is trying to fight its way out. This is your last chance. I'm telling y'all all this right now on Yvette's show, and I say it on mine, meaning reparations. Like I talked to Darity, I talked to him today. Reparations in many ways, because wealth is calcified, is many of your and your children's last chance to be wholly made American, so you have a chance. The problem that happens is this. There's been a reorganization of the race, and I told Yvette this, where through sister girl magic, you basically carve in black immigrant women and carve out African American men, the ADOS men. Understand that. Let me say it again. It creates this sister girl magic where Kamala Harris is closer to you than me, and my mama had me as a single mama for almost her whole life. How is Kamala closer to you that grew up Indian? Y'all ask that question. Y'all are AKAs. I can't be an AKA though. All right, Yvette.
All right, thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. Listen, and let me just say this. Like, you know, like I remember this. I remember sending Tone this chart, and I was like, I can't wait to see what Antonio does with this chart, because like he's like a math wizard. I was like, I can't wait to see what he do with this chart, because I remember I was at a restaurant and I sent Antonio. I was like, look at this chart. I was like, look at it. He was like, where'd you get this chart? I was like, just look at it. And I was like, I know he gonna do something to it. He gonna paint something to it. He gonna put it in a different context. Like for somebody who didn't major in math, Tones is he's like a projection math wizard. But yeah, like it's just the truth. It's just the truth about what the implication of that chart is for our lives. And like you can't be in a rich country. You have to put it all in context. Like you can't be in a rich country with like no money. You can't be in a rich country and be negative. Like when you look at this chart, what it shows you is that like we're negative. Like you can't be negative. Where you can't be worth less than $1 in the rich country in the world. You just starve out. And I think everybody kind of knows that. They get it, except for us. We don't tend to know it. So I'm going right now to 206. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
How you doing, Yvette? This is Mario Matthews from Seattle.
What's going on? How are you?
I'm chilling. Thank you.
No problem.
You know, I really want to touch on the really important point that you just made when it comes to wording. The word manifesto, that is usually associated with extremist groups and terrorists. And we have to be very honest with the direction that is being taken when using words like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to categorizing movements like the ADOS movement, this is a blatant attempt to try to mask us as some kind of black identity extremists. I'm telling you, that's where it's going to go. I don't know when they're going to do this, but that's exactly where this is going to go. We already have a lot of people that are very divisive in mainstream media, but they're doing this on purpose.
And let me just
already been trying to prime the landscape.
Yeah, and you know what it is.
Rhetoric.
You know what else it is, fam? It's also that word manifesto is also associated with crazy people, a craze. Like this lunatic did XYZ. This lunatic did this. So for you to use that very specific word about us, and we have anchored everything that we've done on this show in data. Like that's how we have anchored everything. So like you are trying to paint us as crazy people. You're trying to paint us as nuts, like fringe nuts. So go on, fam. I'll let you finish.
Yeah, I mean the last thing I have to say is there are other words that Joy and Reid used during that Twitter thread that you had. One of the phrases that she used was blood and soil.
Yes.
See, you have to understand when in Charlottesville, when those MAGA right-wing extremist people was using that type of rhetoric, you literally had people out there committing egregious acts of violence. I mean, people died out there.
Yeah.
And they're trying to categorize us in with these people. We have to understand that these sleight of hand tactics is very deceptive. However, they do not work when you have a population of people that are well informed. And this is why the data is very, very important. I congratulate you and Tone Talk. Y'all doing an amazing job with informing the masses. And this is what we need. Thank you.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. And let me just say this. One of the things that's part of why, everybody kind of asks me, Yvette, like, why are you spending so much time on political education? We ought to just run in the streets or something. And I said, no. Like that, none of this stuff works, because people are going to eventually start to do stuff. And I've already seen people start to do stuff in their own communities. But like the stuff that they do will fall back on you if they don't have a political education. Because without a political education, people do stuff that is reckless, and people make mistakes, and it's not anchored in reality and the data of the situation. So you have like this wild recklessness, and we have been very careful to sort of give this a foundation that is actually anchored in like history and lineage and scholarship, as opposed to just like emotion. And I think that's part of what Joy Reid wanted today from me. You know, this idea or this anticipation that I'm going to retweet or I'm going to send something to Yvette and she's going to say something to get herself in trouble that I can say, aha, I told you. But I am a very intentional and methodical person. I'm not a person who goes on Twitter to just rant, and you don't get me upset. Like, I'm not upset because you did that. I have to respond, but you're not worth getting me upset. I get upset over stuff that I care about. I care about this community, and I care about this community, this ADOS community, enough to not let you get me off my marker with this wild stuff. And I think part of the reason, I think she said blood is soil to anchor us to like extremists. But the problem is she said that, you know, I think part of what they like to say, because I said our bones are buried here. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying that our ancestors are here. And like, we have a claim on this country. So when we talk about it, what we're talking about is citizenship. And the fact that ADOS people have been fighting for citizenship for since we've been here. This is a multi-generational oppression. That's what we're talking about. So I don't think that Joy Reid understands. You're going to really have a problem trying to connect us to some kind of right wing or whatever, like, because we're not that. Antonio and I are not that. So you're going to have a problem. When we talk about bones buried in this country, we're talking about, we are this country. We built this country with free labor, and then like we have not yet been able to eat the fruit, but we have had to bear the cost. That's what we're talking about. And if you had done your research, you would have known that, but you didn't. And so now you're just kind of out here just like with mud on your face for no apparent reason other than somebody told you to say something. So I'm coming to 310. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello?
Hey, 310, what's going on?
Hey, Yvette. Oh, wow, I got through. My name is Amara, and I'm calling from the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
And my friends and I have been listening to you guys for a minute now, and yeah, we all agree 100% with the movement and what's going on. I mean, it has to happen now. And I wanted to know about this. Like, I hear you guys talking about HR 40, but then they got this thing coming up where they want to commemorate us. What is that, HR 1242?
The John Lewis bill?
And I'm just like...
I think John Lewis is on that bill. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm like, well, how are you all trying to commemorate a group of people for their rich history and the entry point, 1619, Fort Virginia? How are you going to commemorate us without acknowledging all the detriment you've been doing for the past 400 years, like from the moment we hit the shores? And I just feel like it's like it's sneaky. It's like they up to something. Like they want to have this big party. Like, aren't they supposed to be having a gathering, or they're going to kick it off in August?
Yeah, but they know how much we love symbolism. So don't give them anything. Let them eat symbolism.
No, but you know what? But my fear is we're gonna be happy, dancing, kumbaya Negroes sitting up eating chicken, spitting watermelon seeds, patty caking, talking about they celebrating us. What do you celebrate? How are you even commemorating anything if you're not going to acknowledge what you've done?
Yeah, but I agree. No, I agree, Carla. But the thing is, like, I don't think they understand that we've moved. I was like, no, I can't eat a commemoration. I can't eat an acknowledgement. I can only eat, like, I eat with dollars in this country, and I eat with opportunity, and I eat with ownership, and I eat with production. I eat with means, a means of production. That's how we eat. Like, we eat by building. You acknowledging me and pat me on the head, and you was a slave, ain't that something? Like, that's not anything that I want a part of. I want reparations.
I feel like, right? And I feel like people are going to fall for it. A certain amount of it, as usual, going to fall for it. And it's almost like they're doing this on purpose. Like, it's going to cause a huge divide. People are going to be like, oh, okay, so, but we're going to know. I mean, at least we'll know, who's who and who's riding with who. But it seems silly to me. It's a distraction. It's just to distract us. You know?
Yeah, I agree, Colin. I want to thank you for calling in, but I do.
They gotta pay up. Bottom line, they gotta pay up. It's time. The jig is up.
I agree, Carla. I appreciate you calling in. I think the jig is up too. But listen, don't look at it just as a negative thing, right? In terms of pay attention to who shows up for this thing. There's just going to be a commemoration. Because what is beautiful about this moment? Like, some of you are in my inbox, isn't this awful what this person said about this? Is this awful what this person did? Yeah, it's awful in terms of what they're doing to the community and what they're doing to what we're trying to do in terms of a movement. But it's great in terms of the fact that we all get clarity about who that person is and what they really stand for. There are a lot of people online, there are a lot of people on YouTube who has said for a long time that we really about black empowerment or whatever. But then ADOS, we down with the slave, we been here, and they talked all that stuff. But then when you see them, you see like they too are afraid to lose positionality, even in this space. Like that, you see, this is a. You rarely get moments in life which are clarifying when you can see a person for exactly who they are. I see you. Now, the only thing you have to do, you have to be honest about this moment. When you look at somebody who's saying something negative about what we're doing, and you see they have ulterior motives, and you see they really being backbiting, and they really out for self, you have to be clear. Okay, I see this person for who they are, and I understand who they are, and I absolutely am going to believe this and remember this. I don't care if you have to write it down. When you see somebody, don't let these people come back later on and say, well, I just and act like they didn't do what they did. You see these people, everybody right now is showing their true colors. And when people start to show you their true colors, and that's clarifying. You know who the people are now. Before, you had a lot of people hiding, everybody run around saying the same thing, acting like they believe the same thing. Now we know. That's good. Now we know what box to put you in. That's beautiful. So I'm going now to 850. What is your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette.
Hey.
This is Angela from Nashville.
What's going on, Angela?
So first I want to say thank you for all the years and all the time you've taken to put this show together. You and Tone explaining everything to us. In a way, I found you roughly 2015-16, and been following ever since.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So, a lot of things I try to explain to people on social media is I use like pop references to explain political things. And so, what I can say to Joy Reid, I don't understand what she doesn't understand. Google is free. MSNBC should have some type of system to look up who you all are. So I'm confused as to why she would actually get on Twitter and say all these things about you. They have to have access to things better than Google. They have to have like LexisNexis and other search engines so they can be able to look up your names. You are using your real name, so I don't understand that part. But it's almost as if she's like really trying to be like Mary Jane and wants us to keep up with the Kardashians, and I have to use that type of reference because in real life I know people that will go to slave plantations, and they will go and see all of these things, but in the same breath they'll say, oh, I want this $250,000 home, but you'll make $40,000 a year. And it's like you don't see the connectivity in all of this. All of these things are interconnected. And so I just wanted to pull out that point that we definitely do need more political education and maybe frame it in different ways. But you all have done an excellent job here. And all of this is orchestrated. It's not by design. You also did a show previously about how people are chosen, and she was very intentionally chosen. MSNBC, they know that she wouldn't know about our lineage and wouldn't care about reparations, and so that's why she sits in that seat. And so I think that is important to point out also that it's just as much as MSNBC's fault for keep on carrying her like they are doing. And So that's all I wanted to say.
I appreciate it, Kyle. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think, I mean, they're carrying her, and that's just what it is. There's nothing we can do about that. But that's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what's going on. That's exactly what's going on. So, I'm going to try to get to another caller. Try to get to, so I'm going to keep it moving. I'm not going to say anything. 601, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, how you doing? My name is Anthony. I'm calling from Providence.
Hey, what's going on?
How you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Not much. I'm doing good. I just want to say thank you, for keeping the fight up and being consistent. But I wanted to say I missed a chance that I had because Joy Reid was at my school last week. But I couldn't make it to go see it. I wanted to ask her. I wanted to be there to ask her. But tonight, Mark Lamont Hill was at our school also, so I was able to make it to that event. He was having it was an event. It was like a Black Palestinian coalition type of event. It was open to the public, so I went. And it just so happened that it was another guy there who also, I guess, was aware of the ADOS movement. And, the claim that we were laying, in the public sphere. So he actually got a chance to ask a question about the ADOS movement first.
Great!
But I'm in Brown, so it's a lot of immigrants. I'm not sure if that guy was an immigrant, but I think he may have, some, bias towards it because he was coming at it from, a Pan-African argument. And I actually ended up finding out that he was friends with Talib Kweli. So, they know each other personally. They talk all the time or whatever. But he asked Mark Lamont Hill about how he felt about the anti-Pan-African aspect of ADOS.
What did he say?
So I was able to, combat us in the public sphere in front of a whole bunch of...
So what did he say, though? What was said? You got to tell us about the exchange.
Well, I got the video on Twitter, but basically what he said was, he had been a long-time member of NCOBRA and he was riding with the Pan-Africans. That's what he said.
you got to send that. You got to DM that to me.
I got you.
Okay.
Also, I had to go up there. I had to ask my question. I had to let it be known that, y'all ain't just gonna slander ADOS in this Ivy League institution, and ain't nobody gonna speak up for them. So I have to say, loud and proud that I am a member. I have been participating in the grassroots campaign, and I asked them head first, do either of you all on the panel, would you all like to lend any advocacy towards the reparations movement at the moment? And, of course, they gave it typical. Of course, we support reparations. That's what they say.
Everybody supports it. Everybody supports it in word.
Everybody supports it, but nobody's advocating for it.
There you go. Oh gosh! Oh, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I'm from Mississippi, so they kind of went up for that because I was country up in there, and I ain't give a damn.
Ain't nothing wrong with being country. I'm country too, especially when I get mad. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Don't you feel no shame?
All right, I appreciate it, Yvette.
No problem, man. I appreciate you. All right, I am going now to 773. 773, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
What's up, Yvette? This is Marlon, ADOS Chicago.
What's going on, Marlon?
What's going on, man? I just wanted to call and say I don't think Joanne Reid's tweeting is arbitrary. I don't think it's random. I think it's a response to what Tone did with the tweeting and to the letter writing campaign we did. We had at least 800 people sign the petition. Which means at least which means at least 800 people sent letters. And I'm sure MSNBC gets a lot of letters, but not addressed to Joanne Reid. So I think this is in response to those two things. And it seems like what she's tried to do is get you to respond emotionally.
Yeah.
And as a result, it seems like she's opened herself up. She's shown that she's wounded now. She felt this action we've been doing, and she's wounded. And I think that it's time to kind of get part 2 of the campaign going and try to get her off the air. Because this language about a manifesto and blood and soil, this is some dangerous stuff she's trying to pin on ADOS. And like I said before, I think it's time for us to kind of turn up the heat on her. One of our folks down here, Lucretia, suggested we do some kind of boycott or protest or something like that, but we'll build that out in the next few days, and I'll keep you up to date on that. But yeah, I think she's wounded, and I think it's time to, take this thing to another level, because what she's doing is disrespectful. She could have just came out and offered some kind of apology. But I think this is an acknowledgement that, because now she's saying, at first she was saying we're bots, now she's saying we're not bots. So this is an acknowledgement that, she's hearing what we're saying. So I think it's time to turn up on that.
All right.
I'll keep you posted on that very soon.
Okay, we'll do.
Also, lastly, ADOS Chicago is going to be doing another forum pretty soon, within the next month or so. And we got a special guest coming and some other little treats. So I'll keep you up to date on that as well.
Will do. Appreciate it, Marlon. Appreciate it. I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. As always, Marlon spearheaded a letter writing campaign when Joy Reid initially called us bots. And I reposted that a while back on my Facebook page. But he spearheaded that because he said bots don't write letters. So we need to write handwritten letters. And a lot of you posted on YouTube with your letters and your letter addressed to Joy Reid. So, I mean, he could very well be right in the sense of she's feeling some heat. Like, people are saying, like, what are you doing? Like, whatever you've done has upset a lot of people. And, like, you know how people do, your boss get in the room, well, just kind of tell us what you were feeling and what was the background research for the show and all that stuff. And so you feel some heat. You think you're going to come out here and get me to say something crazy. Well, you ain't nothing. And I'm going to be like, no, that's not. Like, child. I was probably under a tree somewhere, honey. Ain't nobody finna be upset about you. Anyway, I think Tone had one more thing that he wanted to say. So I'm going to try to find him and bring him in really quick before I go.
What up, y'all? Real quick, I just wanted to give y'all 3 announcements. One, the conference flyer has the 3 hotels now, and you can go and try to book your hotel rooms on the conference flyer. It's on the ADOS Facebook page. Number 2, I want everybody to understand that everybody's going to hear about ADOS, because what you see is that nobody has really mastered the use of politics on YouTube appropriately. So now what's happening is that, Mark Lamont, I think we have an image of each other because they're on TV, but no, we control the dialogue and the discussion. Nobody is getting 40,000 views on politics and 3,000. Yvette has 3,200 people watching live right now. So I appreciate you guys saying when is the Breakfast Club going out and tweeting, but you can stop for me, and also you can just stop because we don't really need to go on those shows. If it's set up right and the discussion is appropriate, we would think about it, but they'll reach out. But I don't want us to be begging them like we need to beg them to be on their shows. I don't think that we all get a grasp that technology has changed all of it. If Joy Reid only sees 175,000 viewers between the ages of 25 and 54, and that's all races, so she might have 10,000 black people. If that, I don't even know if it's that high. And the last thing is, I have an article, I have an op-ed that explains reparations. I probably end up just putting it on black media on your web, because I've had an interesting time with Fortune magazine and with the Washington Post, because if you go to the Washington Post, they let 2 white people that don't know about reparations speak about reparations that are right-wing. They said we don't deserve it, the opinion editors. But when it comes to the founder of ADOS that's Emmy nominated, I gotta go through loops and hurdles, because what happened is because Joy Reid is here, because Incover is here, nobody told these white people that you don't get to tell me how to talk about reparations. So I'll probably put it on your web and then share it out with y'all, because Lee does great work, lets me edit there. But I just want y'all to know that part of the reason that reparations never became a national discussion is because Joy Reid exists, and because of the way that everybody approached begging white media for acceptance. That's it, Yvette.
All right, I appreciate you, Tom. Yeah, you can't. That ain't gonna work. That's not gonna work. I'm going to 909. Before I do that, that was one thing I wanted to say. Even when you talk about that, the problem is with Joy Reid. People say when we talk about how few viewers she has. Understand that she has that few viewers and she has the support of an entire network. Like, it's not just like you have those few viewers and you're on YouTube too. Like, you have those few viewers and you have the support of an entire network. Joy Reid, we're going to see you when you get here anyway, because you'll be on YouTube soon enough. You're going to be here soon enough, like, because you ain't making it. And I don't know how, I mean, you doing a real good job as gatekeeper, but I don't know, like, with those numbers, how they can keep taking that kind of loss they taking with you. So, 909, I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello, Yvette. You there?
I'm there. I'm here. Is you there?
Hey, I got through. Hey. Oh, man. Long time caller.
You last one.
First time caller. Long time listener. No, this is great. First of all, more than anything, I just love that ADOS really puts a material context to the blackness of being in America. That honestly is the best part of ADOS for me. Because, like, it's just been this, especially after, like, I want to say, like, the 70s, like, it's really just been, like, whose hustle's going to work. Never really about reparations or, like, what we're owed, honestly. And that's, like, the realest part about, like, ADOS for me, is that it really does put back in that perspective, like, look, we're black in a way that is based upon, like, being shorthanded for hundreds of years in this country.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But no, one point I did...
No, I said I agree with you.
Yeah, but one point I did want to make is that, like, because, you know, we obviously built this country. I mean, this is just from my perspective, like, we don't really have loyalties to, like, the U.S. like that. Like, we built this place, we don't really have, like, we have all the right to, like, really give it that look, like, we don't really have to support the U.S. like that. Like, we'll be fine. The people who really, that small white majority, like, that ain't nothing. Like,
what you mean?
Like, we really do have a root.
I said, what you mean? What you saying?
I mean, just that perspective of, like, how many black people are working class, how many black people really are the labor of this country, and how, like, it's, like, meaningful organizing in this country is more important than, you know, a country that, as it is right now, has too much problems trying to deal with its international mechanisms, you know, like the military-industrial complex, and just the way it's trying to relate with its own money right now, when you look at, like, China and other regions like that, and it's just, I mean, my whole thing is that, like, reparations is very much, like, an issue that, look, you either pay it, or, like, don't expect, like, black Americans in that way to, like, really participate in that American part of, like, being in the military.
Oh, you mean the ultra patriotism. Well, I mean, you know, we're in the military a lot of times because we have to be. Like.
No, I get that. I get that.
No, we like, it's not, oh, you done made me do it. But we're in there because necessity. Like, there's not enough jobs. And so that's how we end up there. That's and we fight because, and a lot of times throughout history we have fought to, like, prove our citizenship. Like, black men have joined the military to, like, prove that, like, we're citizens, and we fight in these wars. Like, we'll be accepted as citizens. That's part of what we have done, is to show.
Right, and I totally get that, because, like, at the end of the day, I think before anything else, you got to survive in this capitalism. Like, it's not a joke. You got to do what you got to do to survive. But at the same time, like, I mean, just long term, like, this whole relationship we even have to the U.S. as its, like, number one, like, hustlers of, like, capitalism. We may not be making the money, but we be hustling like that. And so, like, my whole thing is that, like, we really got to understand, like, we got to change this relationship and not just, like, just think of, like, demanding for reparations. And know that that reparations may even be, like, post-U.S. empire, for real.
I don't know, but thank you, caller. I want to let you know that, like, I appreciate, like, you know, like, you calling me. I'm so happy I didn't make anybody play. Don't y'all play no kind of drinking game with that. You'll be drunk. I appreciate the call. I don't know, he's a little scared, but I appreciate him calling in. I want to thank every. Oh, y'all so funny. You don't tell me to stop laughing and y'all in the chat acting up like this. This ain't right like this. I want to thank everybody for the show tonight. I can't. I'm cooked. I'm a goose cooked. I can't help it. I want to thank everybody who called in. I appreciate everybody. I'm just poking at you. I'm not. It's no harm, no foul. Y'all make fun of me. I make fun of y'all, and we make fun of each other. We are family. That's what family do. Is don't take it any kind of way. Don't take it a bad way. We just having fun. Hit that like button before you go. Share it with your friends. Please, please, please. You can go to donatebrown.com. You can go to patreon.com/ycarnell. Hit that bell so you get notifications of when we are live. And all of that wonderful stuff. Don't forget, tomorrow we book club night, 9:30 same time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. American slavery, American. Hold on. Let me bring it up. Let me bring up the image. Ain't that something? Forget to bring up the image. Always trouble. So if those of you who have read the book tomorrow night, or those of you who just want some cliff notes on it and try to figure out if it's something that you want to read, there'll be a lot about tobacco. We're going to talk about that tomorrow night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you are anyways inclined, and for those of you who have read the book, I look forward to it. We'll have that conversation tomorrow, fam. Please finish your libations. Some of y'all had some because y'all making me laugh, and so you must have had something. Anyway, I appreciate it, and we will talk tomorrow.